Curtis, DIYer.
DIYers, I'm sure you're sick of the conversations about hip-hop not being on the charts and all of that. And many of us have already moved on from that conversation. But damn it, just one more. The algorithm did its job on Instagram and it suggested this to me. And boy, oh boy, when I tell you, this was such an amazing read. I want to get into the full article after this. But for those of you that need some cliff notes and make it a little bit easier, this was snippets of a Substack that Hezekiah, who I believe is a writer, wrote about hip-hop, and it's called Life After Death, Why Hip-Hop Needs to Die Slow So It Can Live Again. Black music is the foundation of Americans' musical identity. It's not a footnote, not a subculture. That's the backbone. Black music is the foundation of America's musical identity. We didn't just listen to hip-hop, we lived it. We grew up inside of it. As a kid, hip-hop was more than a sound. It became life. It was just like all black music before it. The soundscape to car rides, friendships, romances, heartbreaks, grief, late night mischief, and an unending list of moments and memories that shape existences. It layered life lessons on top of 808s, delivered blueprints in a rhythmic cadence, and expressed thoughts that I didn't yet have language for. So why are people saying hip hop is dead? Because black music is American music, and America repeats the same cycle every time. What is that? Spirituals, blues, jazz, rock and roll, R&B, funk, disco, house, techno, and yes, hip hop. Everyone reaches the inevitable stage of American consumption where mainstream claims it's over. Hip hop became a numbers game. Oof. The goal shifted from artistry to output. Jesus.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
The game shifted from artistry to output. Stop me when I'm lying. Hip hop went from being the soundtrack of entire neighborhoods, communities, and livelihoods to background noise for TikTok trends. I don't care how unkish it sounds to say this. It just feels so ridiculous to say this out loud. Because that's really where we got to. It was at one point in time. This is my theory on why, amongst many reasons, that Clip's album resonated so deeply with people. Why a song like Not Like Us resonated so deeply with us as people is because it was finally a song that felt like it was the voice of the voiceless and not the voice of the rich laughing at the poor. I got more money than you. I could probably take your bitch. I could do. All these things that made it seem like, yo, this shit is disposable, not just to the quote unquote casual fans, but also to the people who make it. Nah, ain't no way, right? Hip hop became a numbers game. The goal shifted from artistry to output. There was a time period where you got excited about an artist taking time to work on their project, going through different stages of life and wanting to share these stages of life, as they naturally happened. But now you had so many people who became so obsessed over the speed in which it was delivered that it became more about, yo, I got 1,000 songs in the archives. And though some people have the God-given gift to work at a rapid pace, Pac was one of those. 50 Cent was another one of those. I know the Young Thug talks about being one of those. Although it takes a prolific amount of music to become great, that shouldn't be the main priority. But of course, there are people who are playing in this system, and this system prioritizes output over artistry without a doubt. The next one says hip hop became a spectacle, a sport, a meme factory. Boy,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
A meme factory. And then we saw that be a meme factory for Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, that either had very little black people employed, even though most of their thumbnails are black faces. Most of their posts are black faces, whether it's black faces making new music, whether it's black faces getting arrested, whether it's black. And I'm looking at the No Jumpers, the official rap page. It's insane to me that just last week we start to see that some of these pages outside of those were actually not only not employing black folks in those buildings, because you can look at the LinkedIns, but they're also not even from the U.S. And they're meddling themselves in gossip and meddling themselves and involving themselves in the conflict of beefs between rappers in regions that they have never been to, and amplifying that to their millions of followers, or at least their millions in reach. The audience stopped listening with intention and started watching with detachment. It's almost like the audience started becoming some of these rappers.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell
It's
it.
almost like the audience became some of these rappers. How many rappers do you listen to and they sound like they're detached from all the things they're talking about? It's almost like deadpan humor. It's almost like shot $1 million, spent $1 million, took your, but all of them sound detached. That's why the art has no heart. They're detached. Well, guess what happens when the audience consumes that? They become just as detached as the creator of the art. But the truth never needed to chart to matter. I can't keep pushing this button, but damn it, that deserves one. Hip-hop's decline in chart presence isn't a failure of the culture. It's a failure of the industry that exploited it until the numbers dipped. Hip-hop's decline in the charts presence isn't a failure of the culture. Yeah, don't put that on hip-hop. Put some respect on her name. That is not what hip-hop was even intended to be. Hip-hop was always counterculture to what's happening in the mainstream. While you guys, as singers and pop artists, need all of this fancy equipment for you to do a show, 2 turntables, a karaoke mic, a boombox to play this out of, we gonna be resourceful with the shit we got. While y'all need to get dressed up to go dancing and all of that, how about we dress in the shit that we can afford that's within our reach, and we break dance on top of these fucking cardboards? Like, it's always been about resourcefulness. So when you hear the conversation about how will hip hop survive without the charts, how will hip hop survive without commercial success? Bitch, it was born without it. It was born without it. And has lived on without it. Maybe in places that some of the folks who are in here don't congregate much to. But like my guy Mr. Meg said, you used to have to travel to places in order to have these hip-hop experiences. Whether that's shows, whether that's hole-in-the-wall shows, whether that's bars or dive bars that we're seeing, whether that's block parties, whether that's wherever you could find it, whether that's a cipher at a beach, whether that's a cipher in the park, whether that's a cipher at before a show starts, wherever you could even think of it as. I can tell you because I performed at hundreds of dive bars and hole-in-the-wall shows in my career. I've seen it. I've been there. I had to go when I was promoting for me to try to get on a festival called Pay Dues. I was out here in the streets and I was actually putting things on the walls to make sure that people, but I'm blessed to have that experience. So for you or anybody to say that, oh my God, if it's not in the charts, what's going to happen to it, just shows me how detached some people have become. Then he goes on to say, the writer says, maybe hip hop needs to die.
Somebody gonna have
Hold
to
on.
tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
This is the biggest bar of this entire thread. He says, maybe it needs to die commercially so it can live artistically. Jesus. Let that sit in, please. Let that sit in. Maybe it needs to die commercially so that it can live artistically. That Shakespeare ain't never. Sit your dumb ass down.
Somebody gonna have to tell the
Sit
truth,
your
and I'm
dumb
gonna
ass
tell it.
down, Shakespeare. You ain't never. Maybe it needs to die commercially so we can live artistically. Dominic, I'm thinking about that too. Watch the Party Die. That for sure feels like a lot of the foundation in the message that Kendrick was putting out there. The party needs to die. Everybody just talking about the same shit, talking about the same recycled party with the same recycled liquor, with the same recycled, you know what I'm saying? Like imagery, the same recycle. Everybody humping everybody to help. Everybody having sex with the same peoples. It's a small circle that's made to look like it's a large one, but it's a small circle. Maybe it needs to die commercially so it can live artistically. Because if you let them people, them powers that be, continue to have their grip on it, look what they did to it. This ain't even from no purist standpoint. Just look at what they did to the art. Look at the bullshit they put in front of us. Just think about that. He goes on to say, maybe it needs to shrink so it can sharpen. Maybe it needs to stop being the center of pop culture to become the center of its own culture again.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Maybe it needs to shrink so it can sharpen. I agree. Maybe it needs to stop being the center of pop culture. Because at one point in time, there was a massive pursuit of pop culture crossover success for a lot of artists. That's why you saw artists who came in super, super aggressive and then started to kind of water down their message and make it more family friendly. So they had opportunities to be in TV shows and late night TV shows and find different opportunities with these bigger corporations who are very strict about the things they can or can't say. That's why you started to see so many artists kind of lose their edge. It became the center of pop culture. Maybe it needs to become the center of its own culture again. I think that's a great way to put it. Read the full essay on hip-hop's rebirth theory. We're going to do just that because, man, oh, man, I did not know Hezekiah until today. And I'm so glad I came across this. I'll put the link right now. We're going to go through this. We're going to go through this link. We're going to go through this whole article. Don't care. It's not a large one, but it's larger than usual. I sound like some shit Trump would say, so I'm sorry.
I don't know how to hog tie people. What would I hog tie?
It's not large, but it's larger than most. It's not large, but it's larger than most. Sound like some shit Trump would say. I'm sorry. I'm very conscious of shit like that. I don't want to repeat that. It's kind of large, but it's larger than most. It's not large, but it's larger than most. It's larger than yours. All right, I'm done. That's the end of my Trump impersonations. This is straight from Hezekiah's Substack. It said, life after death, why hip-hop needs to die so we can live again. We're going to get a history lesson and all that. Why culture that raised us is being declared dead, and why that might be the best thing for its future. The culture that raises. The first album I got was Speakerboxxx Love Below. Oh, my God. I remember that album. I played Tony Hawk Underground of that. Well, legally that is. Shout out to Juliet Davis Public Library on the north side of St. Louis. I definitely owe y'all some CDs and some money. Thinking back to a time before you could listen to any song ever for $10 a month, I can still feel the moment of handing my hard-earned $20 over to the cashier, peeling back the shrink wrap, cracking open the double disc jewel case, and sliding each CD into a worn-out paper like I was inserting keys that would unlock another dimension. It did. That album, genre, and culture would become more than sound for me. It became life. Those discs, as well as others from the likes of Lil Wayne, Tupac, 50 Cent, Clips, to countless others were scores to the car rides, friendships, heartbreaks, grief, late night mischief, and an unending list of moments and memories that shaped my existence. It layered life lessons on top of 808s, delivered blueprints with rhythm, and expressed thoughts I didn't yet have language for. It made me feel seen, understood, pushed, and expanded. Hip-hop did that. Not just for me, but for countless others who grew up with the culture. Not as entertainment, but as education. Some sort of spiritual inheritance, a coded language for survival, ambition, identity, and imagination. We didn't just listen to hip hop like some of you niggas be putting hip hop on. Yeah, shut your dumb ass down before I smack dust out. We didn't just listen to hip hop. We lived with it. We grew up inside of it. That's what makes the recurring conversation about hip-hop's death feel so personal. I agree. This isn't just a genre declining in popularity. This is a piece of our upbringing being declared obsolete by the same audience and industry that once championed it. As many weirdly, very weirdly, rushed to deliver hip-hop's eulogy, I thought I tried to give a voice to the very same culture that once helped me find my own. This is hip-hop's rebirth theory. But before we talk about death, we need to talk about importance. And before we utter the words hip-hop is dead, we need to talk about the cycle it's trapped inside of. Black music is American music. If you want to understand hip-hop's so-called death, you have to first understand how American music lives and dies. Black music is the foundation of America's musical identity, not a footnote, not a subculture, the backbone. And every musical innovation in the country, spirituals, blues, jazz, rock and roll, R&B, funk, disco, house, techno, and yes, hip-hop came from Black imagination, Black ingenuity, Black communities, creating something out of nothing. Just so 50 years later, a white dude could jump on here and call me a wigger in his rap. Okay, I'm being petty. And every time America responds the same way, wait, let me get my shit off. Black people create the sound. America falls in love. America commercializes it. America sanitizes it. America forgets where it came from. And then America discards it when it no longer feels new enough, profitable enough, edgy enough, or white enough.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Damn! It happened with the blues. Then white rock bands became global icons while black bluesmen played to half-empty rooms. It happened with jazz, which was born in rebellion and improvisation, but ended up sealed in glass cases of cultural respectability. It happened with disco. So deeply black, brown, and queer that straight white America publicly burned it down. It happened with house and techno, stripped of their black origins and rebranded as EDM, once Europe decided to capitalize on it. Jesus. Hip-hop is simply the latest genre to reach that inevitable stage of American consumption, the moment where mainstream claims it's over. To his credit, Nas was the first one to say it out loud. Released in 2006, Hip-Hop is Dead wasn't a melodramatic proclamation. It was a prophecy, a warning of what happens when when the culture's creators lose control and the powers that be plunder it of all its value, then decide it's time to move on. Sound familiar? But for hip hop, the story doesn't end there, because hip hop has always been more than music. It's been identity, community, resistance, innovation, truth, which is why its death, quotation marks, might actually be a beginning. Behold that thought. The cheapening of a culture. If you really want to understand why the conversation of hip hop's demise keeps resurfacing, don't look at the artists. Look at the industry.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm
Everybody keep pointing to the rappers. Like, we end up being as disrespectful as those who disrespect the culture by looking at them. Them niggas ain't got no power. They rich, but they not rich like the people that employ them. They rich, they sold out, but they ain't nowhere in the position as a person that got the power. How do you know? Because rappers probably have, I heard somebody say this, rappers and producers in the industry have a less likelihood, excuse me, they have a, how can I put this? Rappers and music producers have about the same or less lifespan as a football player, which I think is like 6 years. 6 years is what you're going to be averaging as you become an NFL player. You don't even get 6 years in the industry. Think about how much it turns over and how many artists come in, how many artists have a season and they're gone. But guess what? That same person that owned that label today probably owned that label 10 years ago. Or their family member owned it 20 years ago. Or their family member owned it 40 years ago. That right there is called generational wealth. It says, while hip-hop's downfall started long before the digital age of music, we can unequivocally point to streaming as the catalyst that changed everything. Jeez. Once the music industry realized hip-hop was cheap to produce, easy to market, meme-friendly, and sticky in the algorithm, it strictly became a numbers game. The realization just so happened to come at a time when record labels were scrambling to figure out how to gain control of a landscape that quickly disposed of the traditional music consumption model in favor of a digital, democratic musical ecosystem. Thus, labels fully exploited and leveraged the world's most dominant genre by making it the backbone of the streaming economy. No longer nurturing artists, but instead mass producing songs, the goal shifted from artistry to output.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Let me give you experience that only an independent artist could tell you. Good friend of mine, shout out to my guy Noah James, is a show promoter. And in being around him, he's booked some of the biggest acts you can think of out here in Cali, right? In Southern Cali, right? He didn't book Hit Boy, he didn't booked Ab Soul, he didn't booked Pac Div back when they were like in their prime of the blog era. Anybody you could think of, right? He booked a lot of my shows as well in the IE. With that said, he told me one time a corporate sponsor that will remain unnamed, it's a huge energy drink that I know y'all know about it, ain't Red Bull, told him how easy it is to do a hip hop show and how he prefers to do rap shows. He thought it was because the guy's a rap fan. He said, because y'all don't need high quality microphones. Y'all don't even need 2 speakers. We look at certain scenes and see like a microphone, a DJ, and speakers and say, damn, that's hip hop at its core. Like we can make the most out of what we have. That guy that worked at that energy drink company said, I see maximum profit.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I can flip that shit. Y'all don't need great quality. You settle for terrible quality. You're not divas like these rock artists are. You don't need instruments that are mic'd up. You don't even need a full venue. Matter of fact, y'all will perform in the bottom room of this venue. Because it's hip hop, baby. They took advantage of that as predators, as carnivores in this situation. I seen this shit firsthand. So when he says hip hop was cheap to produce, I seen what they did. Easy to market. Yeah. Who don't want, you'll go to there was a point in time where you go to a rap show just because it's a rap show, just to laugh. Even if it's somebody you don't know. You like, shit, I know I'm gonna have a good time, drink, hear some music I may or may not like, whatever. It's easy to market, it's meme friendly, and it's sticky in the algorithm. He goes on to say, after he says the goal shifted from artistry to output, after he says that hip hop really became the foundation behind pushing streaming. And also, too, isn't it funny that hip hop is at the foundation? Hip hop and R&B is at the foundation of pushing AI. They're doing it again.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
They're doing it again. Hey, yo, DIYer, if you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this video and this channel get discovered by new people. I appreciate you. Now back to the video. They're using black faces. They're using black voices, whether it's Timbaland, whether it's Zania Monet, whether it's whoever, whether it's a dead Tupac in a Sora video, whether it's a dead Michael Jackson, whether it's a dead Prince, whether it's a Kobe Bryant. They're using black faces adjacent to hip hop or within hip hop in R&B. It's the same playbook, bro. Sis, it's the same playbook. So he says that's how we ended up with copy-paste soundscapes. Songs engineered for virality instead of longevity. Artists are pressured to release constantly. Listeners trained to consume endlessly. Music is treated as a disposable content. Music listeners in here, have you ever sat for a second and said, man, like how many times have I came up with How many times did I come up with the reasons I listen to music the way I listen to it? And how much of that was programming that was put upon me? This idea of a song being old. I got playlists right now for the gym. Songs from 30-something years ago. Right? CNN, Capone and Noriega, Invincible. There's nothing old about it. Sonically, some things may age. There's nothing old about it. But then when you think about who does that benefit for you to feel like music is always old and needing to be turned over? That benefits the person making money off of it, because then you start demanding more. Which is why I think it's a natural progression between how they've treated hip hop, how they've slaved out and pimped out hip hop in the mainstream, to now they're like, we don't even need these niggas. We got AI. Thank you for your contribution. We will now feed all that shit into the data training, and we got it from here. Copy-paste soundscapes, songs engineered for virality and longevity. You don't have to worry about that anymore, because now virality is a formula within ChatGPT. Virality is a formula within Suno AI. Virality is a formula that they have some kind of better idea of why things go viral. Artists pressured to release constantly. You ain't got to worry about that with AI music. Listeners trained to consume endlessly. Well, now they'll have all AI to listen to. Music treated as disposable content. You dumb down the music so then AI doesn't sound that bad. When AI is just merely repeating the things that you once loved but deemed as old. Think about that for a second. Hip hop went from being a soundtrack of entire neighborhoods, communities, and livelihoods to background noise for TikTok trends. When the industry cheapens the art, the culture loses its foundation. And once the foundation collapses, something even worse happens. The audience stops listening with intention and starts watching with detachment. He calls this the Spectator Era. I can think of no better movement that brought this theory into sharper focus for me than Drake versus Kendrick battle. Yes, it was thrilling. Yes, it showed hip hop still has the power to seize global attention. Yes, it reminded people of the raw competitiveness that built the culture. But it also revealed the truth we haven't wanted to face. Hip hop's loudest commentators weren't from the culture. The most viral reactions came from people who weren't raised by the music. And the Discord was dominated by spectators, not participants.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Just want to let that sizzle for a little bit in your spirit. Shout out to Country Wayne. Hip hop became a spectacle, a sport, a meme factory. People weren't listening to understand. They were listening to pick sides, to create takes, to farm engagement. Hip hop wasn't being felt anymore. It was being consumed. And that is the most dangerous shift of all. He says the prophecy resurfaces. That's why a recent statistic hit the timeline harder than crack in the 80s. For the first time since 1990, no rap or hip hop songs appeared in the Billboard Hot 100 Top 40. People ignorantly assume this to be the final confirmation that the culture has collapsed. But charts don't measure cultural vitality. They measure commercial interest. And commercial interest is fickle. It moves on to the second it finds a cheaper thrill. Oh my God. One more time. Charts don't measure cultural vitality. They measure commercial interest. And commercial interest is fickle. It moves on the second it finds a cheaper thrill. You know what I keep thinking about? I know I'm bringing this example up and I'm beating it to death. There was a time that our mothers and fathers bought a string together piece of metal that went down the stairs by itself. It was called a slinky. And they sat there with this piece of metal and watched it go down the stairs. Them shit sold like hotcakes. There was a time where you get a piece of plastic, make it into a circle, and then the ladies would do like this. It was a hula hoop. Nigga, that's plastic. There was a time that in the 70s, this white dude sold 1 million pet rocks. Pet rocks. What's so special about them? Nothing. They were just off the coast of California. He sold 1 million pet rocks. If that don't tell you how much consumers will buy some bullshit, Beanie Babies, La Boo Boo, if that don't tell you how fickle this shit is. The earliest memory I have of a toy is as a kid. You remember that toy where, I know one of y'all remember this. It was a screen and it lit up and it had a steering wheel on it. And it was like this little box. It was a red box, steering wheel, and it made car noises. And like the whole time, you can go side to side and it looked like it was new buildings on the side. But the whole time it was just going in a circle. And you thought your ass thought you was really gonna go somewhere. Pokemon cards. So this is what I'm getting at, is how fickle we are as consumers. We let that dictate the way that we view the culture of hip hop that has changed so many of our lives. Furbies, thank you. You see what I'm getting at? Like, Pogs, Jesus. I went to Six. I told my mama I wanted to go to Knott's. I was scared to go on roller coasters, but I told her I wanted to go to Knott's. Why? Because I wanted the Joker Slammer. Yeah, I wanted that Joker Slammer. So I faked it, and I was like, "Yeah, mom, I want to go to Knott's Berry Farm." She's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." I went there and I was like, "Can I get that Joker Pog, the Slammer?" I went there just for that. You talking about the digi pets? Fucking DigiPets. But you guys get the point. It says hip-hop's decline in chart presence isn't a failure of the culture. It's a failure of the industry that exploited it until the numbers dip. Hip-hop isn't dying. The industry version of hip-hop is dying, also referred to as mainstream rap. To be honest with you, that might be the best thing that has happened to the culture in a really, really long time. I don't think anybody in here felt this way. Gigapets. Yeah, that's what was Gigapets. But do we understand what the shift is? And are we understanding why some people were in strong denial a shift was happening? That's because their entire hip hop existence begins on TV, begins on the biggest platforms, and it ends there. There is no hip hop culture outside the internet for them. So the shift that they couldn't see is for obvious reasons. It's in places you got to go take your ass out of that funky ass room and go experience. You got to actually be around the black folks that you be covering and talking shit about. And that ain't for one person. That's for a bunch of you. You got to actually be out there and see, you got to be around these black folks that you cover. Ooh. The gift and the curse. I'll be the first to say it. Maybe hip hop needs to die. Not in spirit, not in culture, but in scale. Maybe it needs to die commercially so it can live artistically. Such a bar. Maybe it needs to shrink so it can sharpen. Maybe it needs to stop being the center of pop culture to become the center of its own culture again. Death clears space. Death makes room. Death invites rebirth. Damn. Death clears space. Death makes room. Death invites rebirth. Man, shout out to Hezekiah for this. And hip hop has always known how to resurrect itself. That is truth. Life after death. So what does rebirth look like? Maybe it's the return of regional sound. When the South sounded like the South and the West sounded like the West and the Midwest carved its own lane. Maybe artists stop chasing global mass appeal and start making music for their communities again.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Maybe storytelling returns. I was just listening to Rewind today by Nas. Maybe one of the most insane song concepts of all time, but absolutely one of the best songwriting songs in hip hop of all time. If you've never heard Rewind by Nas, Nas tells a story in reverse order. Don't ask me to explain it anymore. Go listen to Rewind by Nas. When you know that this type of high level IQ skill exists within these writers' capabilities, why would you not want to push that as high as possible? Why would you not want to see more of that? In reverse order, he told the whole story. And maybe we'll listen to it after this. In reverse order, he told this story. Right? That's why I get so excited when I see the Chris Patricks. That's why I get so excited when I see, the JIDs. That's why I get excited when I see all of these younger artists that are coming up, because I'm like, y'all are showing signs of being able to evolve this. Please push it forward. Please continue to push it forward. Those are just the first two names that came to mind. But it is insanity, the genius that type of writing is. Nas made a song one time that described his relationship, and it sounded like a legitimate relationship with a woman, but it was his relationship with his gun. And it's like, dog, that type of writing needs to be expanded upon. But it doesn't get nearly as celebrated as the bullshit, unfortunately. But I think that's shifting. Maybe storytelling returns. Maybe risk returns. Maybe experimentation becomes a mandate again. Maybe, just maybe, a smaller, more intentional audience creates better art than a billion passive listeners ever could. I'm looking at y'all.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I don't know how many people we got in here. It doesn't matter. I'm thankful for everybody who we have in here, and I really mean that. I really mean that. I brag to people who talk about coming on this platform to be interviewed. I brag about y'all because I said, if they rock with you, these are human beings who are willing to go pay, put their money where their mouth is for your music direct to consumer. They love the art form. If they're not artists themselves, if they're not producers themselves, these DIYers care because in their own life, they are DIYers. DIYer moms, DIYer small businesses, DIYer gym goers, DIYer retired military, whatever the case may be. active duty, whatever the situation is. I brag on y'all. But this is what's happening right here. This small audience that he's referring to right now, he's talking about us. We're not the masses. The masses are going to do whatever is easiest for them to do. If they don't have to spend money, most of them won't spend money. If they can pirate that shit, they will pirate that shit. But if you know better and I know better, we should never be finding ourselves in the same conversations as them. Right? There's no reason to reason in those spaces. All we can do is kind of lead by example, right? Maybe, just maybe, a smaller, more intentional audience creates better art than a billion passive listeners ever could, because we never needed a billion people. You get 1,000 people that want to pay you $100 a year, you got $100,000 in a year. It is the true 1,000 fan rule. Nowadays, we don't have to talk about 1,000 people paying $100. Now we're just talking about, or is it 1,000? What's the math on that one? I said that shit too fast. I don't know if I did the math in my head. Whatever the case may be, that is more than enough to make a living off of. I am proof of that. Between what I do with this YouTube, between what I do with my products, between what I do with my music, it allows me to take care of what I got to take care of. 1,000 times 100. Yeah, I know. Okay. I know I wasn't tripping. I said that shit too fast. My brain was like, appreciate you, the man official. Who knows? But I do know one thing, though. Hip hop doesn't need to dominate to be powerful. Truth never needed to chart to matter. To make a long story longer, when I think about the blog era, or mixtape Wayne, or the Neptune sound, or any and all of the contributors who have carried the torch of this great culture, I'm reminded that hip hop's greatest moments were never driven by commerce. They were driven by imagination, by regional quirks and unique sounds, by community truth, by artists who weren't afraid to innovate. Doug, that was the entire foundation of a show like Rap City. Rap City, I came home from high school and I would watch Rap City at the homie's apartment or his grandparents' apartment. We would watch Rap City before 106 and Park came on. We would watch Teen Summit, all that stuff. Watch Rap City. I could see what a rapper from Minnesota sounds like, what a rapper from Florida sounds like, what a rapper from Milwaukee sounds like, what a rapper from New York sounds like, what a rapper from the Bay Area sounds like. And this is, mind you, this is nowhere near the internet era that we're experiencing now. This is where we are talking about predominantly Cedar's World. Yeah, shout out to Cedar's World. Freestyle Fridays on 106 and Park. Like, dog, the feeling of being able to sonically travel to someone else's location in a place you've never been. I kind of felt like I could understand how tiny the boroughs felt. Like how tiny the subways felt, because I listened to Illmatic and I consumed it on a spiritual level. I kind of feel like when Jay-Z talked about Marcy, I kind of had an idea about what them hallways smelled like pissy. I had an idea, but that is the beauty of when everybody's not chasing. How do I make something that everybody in the world's gonna love and says, what the fuck do I love? And what do my people love? And what if that's enough? What is enough? And that's the problem. It's a lot of artists out here who don't know what their dollar amount is. It's just infinite. And for many of us, it was, if I can just make a living off of this, a comfortable living, I'm good. I think I used to say a house in the hills and I'll be good, but like, I ain't need no house in the hills. Fucking mudslides be happening. They were driven by imagination, regional quirks, and unique sounds, by community truth, by artists who weren't afraid to innovate. What if the version of hip hop we're losing right now isn't really hip hop at all? What if the thing that's dying in the industry, what if the thing that's dying is the industry's replica, not the culture's original? These are great questions. Because if history has taught us anything, it's this: black music doesn't die, it reincarnates. It transforms. It returns to the people who birthed it. Hip hop ain't dead. It's just shedding its skin. And what comes next might be the most alive it's ever been. Man, shout out to Hezekiah. That was an amazing read. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What I love about that, ain't no wishful thinking. He not painting it with glass half full. He's saying it as what it is. Let this version die off. They don't know what to do with her. They don't know how to treat her. They don't know. It's like it's like hip hop. It's like you dated her, right? You dated her in high school, and when you know her since your childhood, and you saw her kind of go about. And I only use her because it's gonna sound weird if I don't say her. You saw her blossom into her own. You had the biggest crush on her. You was like, man, maybe one day she'll see me the same way I see her. And then you get embraced. And then she moves away to a different place with hopes of seeing a big city and being embraced in a way that you just don't have the financial capabilities to embrace. And you happy for her and you want to see her win and you want to see her. But then she started getting into some of these other circles of people who don't care about the culture, people who don't know about her upbringing. And a lot of these spaces, she don't even feel like she welcome, but because of her assets and what she brings, people invite her into rooms. And they start giving her booger sugar. Then they tell her, I sip this. It's called lean. Sip this. Then lean get involved. Then she starts smoking some. Yeah, this is very coded with common, Keisha. You're so right. Then she started getting into some other shit. She like, oh, what the fuck? This shit got me washed. And the whole time we looking at her like, I know who you really are. Them folks don't, and they don't care. Well, now after having her go from the main attraction in the room to now being pimped out like these people did her, they found the worst versions they could image-wise to represent her. They figured out the lowest hanging fruit of content to display for the rest of the world to see and have their embedded stereotypes of what black people are like in America. The labels push that out. They put money behind that. After all that abuse, and it's not just the man, it's some of us that have to take accountability for that too, who got right up into pimping and did the same thing to her. Folks that look just like us. Well, now that she didn't went through there, guess what happens? And if there's a Tyler Perry movie, I know that's a bad example, but if there's a Tyler Perry movie, what happens at the end? Besides the abusive light-skinned dude with the fake braids, what happens? She goes back home. She go back to Big Mama house. They don't love me out here, but you always got a place at home. I've been saying this for the longest. Now she for real coming back home. She's for real coming back home, back to the independent spaces, the independent circles, back to home where we appreciate her in a way that ain't nobody else gonna appreciate her. We've been waiting. Thank you. Hip Hop Herman said we've been waiting on you. We used to talk about what you used to be like before them other folks got a hold of you. What's up, Atal Santos? Before the other people got. Now she coming back home. Come on, baby girl. Come on. Take this blanket. Like, I should beat y'all ass. And I'll be back. Don't worry about it. You ain't gonna put your hands on her again. I bet you won't. Come on out. Come on back home. I feel like that's what's happening right now. You better not say she's Jada at the end to set it off. You're disrespectful.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You keep Will Smith's wife name out of your mouth. She's Jada at the end to set it off. Y'all can't take nothing serious. I had a whole sermon for this. Y'all can't take nothing serious in here. I can't take y'all nowhere. Hip hop is coming back home to regain her well-roundedness. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, here, eat this food. Them folks had you over there eating avocado toast with sprouts on it and shit. Pissing me off. They had you over there eating $38 burgers served by a white dude with a flannel shirt and a man bun. Come on home and get some home cooking. We know how to treat you, baby. Baby girl, come on in here. You know we got you. Oh, she definitely cut her hair. You know what that means. I'm afraid to ask, and I kind of think I know. But you know a change is happening when that hair get cut for sure. I just know that. A change is happening. It could mean a whole lot of things. I've seen a whole lot of movies. We talking about soul food? What we talking about? We talking about soul food or we talking about Soul Plane? Them is two different movies. We talking about soul food or we talking about Soul Plane? What you mean stop? I'm trying to figure it out. When a woman cuts her hair, she went through some stuff. Oh God, she did. Look. Waiting to exhale. Waiting to exhale, you finna go to hell. You finna go to hell. All your shit finna get burnt up. DIYers is all the thoughts I got.
DIY.
DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.